Welcome to Espresso Yourself, Mom, Teacher, and Runner Talk, the podcast where lesson plans meet lattes and long runs.
We're four women juggling the journey of motherhood, teaching personal goals, and a whole lot of caffeine.
Here, we keep it real, the messy, the meaningful, and the moments in between.
So grab your coffee and join us for honest conversations, a few laughs, and a reminder that you're not in this alone.
Welcome back to Espresso Yourself. Happy holidays. We are just a couple days away from Christmas and all the other holidays that are celebrated over this winter season. So today's episode, we are going to talk about all of our different holiday traditions that we celebrate, whether it be what we did growing up or what we are doing as teachers and moms today. But before we get into those traditions, let's do our catch up. Becky, you ran a race this morning.
Wasn't by far my best race. And part of me was like, I really want it to be. And the other part of me was like, well, I'm just going to go out there and run it because the last half I did was in January. And so like the beginning of 2025, end of 2025 kind of just felt like, book ending a really good year of running. And my legs were tired, very much girl problems today, but I felt pretty strong and like it was fun. People kept, I had music playing on my phone instead of my earbuds because those weren't working. So people were complimenting me on music throughout. And I had a lot of like 90s throwback and sync, Backstreet Boys, Spice Girls, Britney Spears, all of it, just like the pump up jams. So that was just like, it was fun. And I knew the course. So I was like, I knew where I was going. I knew where I was. I knew where the water stops were. And thinking back to when I did this race 2 years ago, I felt so much better than when I did it then. A slower time, but I felt strong throughout. I don't know. It's one of those like double-edged swords because you want to do really well and you want to go really fast, but sometimes the conditions just don't allow for that. And I'm kind of just in a season of training and feeling good. And for me, I think I like training a heck of a lot more than I like the actual race. But today's race was fun. And I saw a couple people that I knew out there on the course. One was a runner and one is someone who works in my district. And so it just was fun to like get to see the person in my district who is at the district level. So I don't see her all that often, but enough to where she knows me and could cheer me on and like whatever. We had talked about it before then, but I'm pretty sure I probably could go back and count. I think this was my 20th half. So it was more of just like a celebration to just the ability to be running this when 10 years ago, that would never have been like in the scope of things that I could do. And I started running after I had my 9-year-old. So 8.5 years ago. And I was like, I need to do something. And so I trained for a 15K. And one of my friends was like, Becky, just run 4 more miles. Like, just do that for a half marathon. And I was like, huh, okay. And like, that was it. So, and a half marathon really is my favorite distance. It just is, it's fun. So it was a good day. It was a good morning. And it's fun to be able to just wake up and like go and it's not a huge race. I think there were maybe 300 in the race. So it wasn't big. I like could get there with 15 minutes to spare and still be able to use the bathroom and like get my race bib with 15 minutes to go and like just be able to start the race. So just the ease of it all was really fun too. We were over there a couple of days ago we had a field trip to the circus that I mentioned last week. And so that was like I ran past the circus tent. So it was just cool to just be able to be there and Christmas decorations. And it was cloudy for most of the race, which was good. But yeah, just finishing a half is great. The medal, already put it up, but it's very Florida, very Florida. It's got palm trees, it's got water, it's got the sunset, but it's on it's at like a rowing, like an Olympic rowing facility. So there were people out there on the water just doing their rowing practice. Yeah. Yeah. So it was really cool. It's a great location. And I just had fun today. And after a very long week at school and then to run this, just it's kind of like in the craziness of life. And then you go run a half and it's, and you continue on with your day. I think it's something cool to just be like, yeah, I just ran a half marathon today. Let's now continue on with baking and cooking and cleaning and whatever. I can just go about my day. So I am having a drink though, like a pear mimosa. I don't know. Is a Bellini with pear juice? Peach.
I think
Okay.
a Bellini is peach.
Well, we only had
Peach,
pear
yeah.
juice. Here it is mixed with Prosecco, but I could probably use some more coffee later. Yes. So
Right. So I had a laugh as you were talking about your running into somebody in your district. I was thinking, was that the one that when you were doing the step challenge that
She
had all
was-
the extra steps?
she
thought that
wasn't
too.
running. It was definitely not her. No, because I knew her name. I don't even remember that person, but no, that would have been funny. They probably would have finished light years ahead of me. Yes.
First.
Yeah, I went to try and go get a pint glass and I was like, here's my bib number. And I thought it was to make sure you finish the race, then you can get one. And the kid, he was like a teenager, no expression on his face. He goes, yeah, you were number 16 in your age group. This is for top 5. And I was like, all right, guess I'll go collect my snacks now. Okay. All right. Bye. So could have had my mimosa in a pint glass, but instead it's in a wine glass. Whatever. It was a good day. I only chafed in one place right here.
I chafed there yesterday too.
Yep, that's the only one. I finally found
Comparing
a pair of
chafing
shorts
spots.
that don't allow me to chafe. They stay in place. They are so cheap. They're $10 a pair, Jockey brand, the best. They're the best. I have 3 pairs and nothing moves and nothing chafes. And as a runner, that is more than you can ask for. And I can't even those, whatever the body bars or whatever the chafing butter, I don't know what it's called, but it does not work for me. I sweat too much and it doesn't work. So I just have one chafing mark and it hurt really bad through miles 11 through 13. But other than that, all good. And I don't know what happened. My phone said the internet went out, but it did not record 13.1 miles on Strava. I don't know why.
Was it short? Because Strava always makes you pay that Strava
But,
tax. The little.
No, it
You
was
gotta go
it was
a little bit
third of a mile
for it
short.
to count.
Maybe I was at
It may have been the
12.8,
course.
and
Yeah.
I thought that's crazy.
It could have been the course.
But
Did anybody else say anything
I didn't
on their
ask.
Garmin's or anything?
I don't know.
Because there are sometimes that
Mhm.
people cut courses short. The Turkey Trot, the 4
Really?
mile and the 6 mile were short, and so the 4 mile was short. It was
My gosh.
3.4. And it was supposed to be 4 miles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many people were so mad. The 6 miler was 590. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I can just go the extra, a little bit to make up to the 6. But yeah, the 4 mile was
But then you have to do
really, really
extra
short.
for the Strava tax.
Yeah, I was not
Nice.
about to go run extra after this one today, but we're just gonna roll into. Yeah,
But it is annoying. Mm-hmm. It's a real runner struggle.
Yes.
Nothing more frustrating than running a race and you don't get that
It's short.
accurate mileage. It's
'Cause
like when you're
Our
training
apps.
and you go out on a training run and you get done, you're like, oh, but I'm a 10th from this mile. I'm going to do it, right? You
And
always,
you loop or you
circle the
go.
parking lot or wherever you're at. Yes.
Mhm.
Our training group used to run, the store was right there by a Kroger, and we would run up in the little plaza area and then out into the neighborhoods. And every time we would come back, we'd be like, okay, this point and back is 3 miles, this point is 5, and so forth. And every time I came back, if it wasn't quite right, I'm doing laps around Kroger or in the parking lot until I hit where I wanted to be. It's a real problem.
Constantly running back and forth in front of my house. Yep. Oh yeah. I'll
Yep.
take a walk around the
I do the
block.
same
I'll
thing.
do something to get that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
my
How was
gosh.
the circus?
It was so good.
I want to hear about the circus. Sorry. I know
It
we just
was
heard about
so
her half, but
good.
I want to hear
So
about the circus.
it took us a little while to get there, but it was it was a one-ring circus. They had a juggler, they had tightrope people, they had roller skate, like a couple that looked like they were on ice, like doing all the tricks that they would do on ice. They had a hula hoop girl and a unicyclist that was like his unicycle, they like kept adding wheels so that he would be higher and higher and higher. And the kids, like, I thought they complained a little bit because they're like, how many more minutes are we going to be here? Because by the time we got there, their lunch, like their typical lunchtime, would have been over. So we got there at maybe, well, maybe it would be the start of their lunchtime, but they were like, by the time we sat down and everything was going, lunch would have been over. And then, like, so, they were kind of like, if it wasn't moving fast enough for them, they were like, okay, we're good. But I thought it was amazing. It's a family. I feel like it's always this way, but it's a family of tightrope walkers that created this circus. And if you didn't know, Sarasota, Florida is like where Ringling Brothers started. So the circus is a really big deal in Sarasota. They have like circus arts, like facilities and things like that. But this circus that we went to was kind of like Cirque du Soleil meets Broadway. So there was singing, there was a storyline, there was obviously the circus arts. They had like people, there was no swinging trapeze, but they had people like doing lira, which is like a metal hoop, and like doing tricks in there. It was probably one of the coolest field trips that I've been to. We just got back like really late. We didn't eat lunch until 1:45. Kids went 5 hours without eating. Like, I gave them a snack before we left and said, make sure you eat, make sure you go to the bathroom. But I was like, you will not drink water because we could not go to the bathroom when we're on this bus ride.
That's
But
crazy.
it was awesome. And I hope that they remember it. Like, I really hope that they do. It was so cool. The tightrope walkers were the coolest ever. And of course, they had jokes like they had 6, 7, and, like all of that. And the kids went crazy. The age range of the kids was kindergarten through 12th grade. So there were a couple of high schools there. And we passed by one of the high school groups and I was like, what class are you guys here for? And they said career and professional studies. I thought, how did that teacher spin that to the admin and say, we're going
Right?
to the circus? But they did. Maybe people want to have a career in entertainment. I don't know. But it was the coolest field trip. The skill that these people have was amazing. And every seat it was like a pretty small tent, but every seat was amazing. And just, it was so cool. I couldn't even believe that we were at the circus for a field trip. It was really cool. I don't know if it's going to be back next year, but if it is, I hope we go again because it was so cool. And it was free for us. I think they give school groups like free tickets. So I don't know, the kids didn't need to pay anything. So it was really cool.
That's
I just
awesome.
was amazed by everything that they did. But then it took us like 40 minutes to get out of there because they were very organized. They called school by school by school, but it was like, if you got here first, you get to leave first. And if you got here last, you leave last. So we left last because we got there last. But the kids had a good time and they were great on the bus. And they were, like we ate lunch and then I came back to the room, showed a Magic School Bus episode. And then I was like, okay, it's time to pack up. And they were like, what? Are we leaving early? And I was like, no, we just ate lunch really late. So please, tomorrow, don't think that we're going to leave after lunch, please. Even though I had to sub the next day, so it wouldn't have been asked me. But yeah, it was so fun. I'm so glad that whoever had the idea to go on that field trip, that it was approved and we got to go. And I loved it. Then we also had a play on Friday night. So I was at school every day until 6 o'clock. And then Friday night, I was at school until 8:30. And it was just a very long week. And this week, I don't have any after school commitments, none. I'm very thankful for that going into winter break. Very thankful.
You were talking a couple weeks ago, I think, about your kindergarten does like a holiday show because our 4th grade does the holiday show in our school, but we do our performance at night. And you were saying like your kids perform and
Yeah,
then they get to
so
go
our
home.
performance,
Like they don't stay
they
the
had
whole
the
day.
option to go
How
home.
does that
So
work?
our performance is at 9 in the morning, which I don't know how parents can do that. Like if I did not work at my kid's school, I'd be like, sorry, kid, I can't come see your performance. Like, I don't know, maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. I don't know. I feel like that would be very hard. But my husband is not gonna be able to, like when Carson had his, I went because I was like, someone needs to cover me for 30 minutes so I can go see my kid's performance. And that was fine.
Yeah.
But like my husband didn't come to that. And when my next kid does it in a couple of years, I'll be there because I'm still going to teach kindergarten. Hey, dude.
Sorry. He just stormed through the door. Step back, step back.
Yeah.
Step all the way back.
Looking good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those muscles
Been
there.
pumping the iron.
Huh.
He's been watching that Thundermans show so much. He just comes
Yeah.
storming through the door. Like, I couldn't.
Funny.
Okay, goodbye.
But the long and the short of it is that the parents can come to the show that starts at 9, ends like at 9:30. They come back to our room, and like that's when the kids are going to give their parents their presents for them. And then they're free to take them home, like if they want to. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you said take them home.
I'm going to send a message and say, we will not be doing anything academic today. Nothing will be done. And then I'm going to purposely have like our holiday party Thursday afternoon. And I'll be like, everything is done. So if you want to take your kid home, you're more than welcome to. I am probably still going to have.
And that's on Friday.
Yeah.
You guys are okay. So you can, I'm just flabbergasted right now because everything that's been happening at our school with the whole pushing of the academic minutes and all the things that we've had taken away. And like you saying, like being able to put out there, like nothing academic is happening today. Like oh my gosh, if we said that to our families, like we would
Even
probably
the
be
Friday
written up.
before break?
Like,
What?
We
Wait,
had to.
y'all have to do academic on Friday?
Yes. So we had to write up a letter of proposal to be able to watch The Grinch on Friday with our kids and be able to tie it to our standards. And we had to write up a whole proposal for how we were going to tie it into our curriculum and what we're teaching. Third grade has always
My
watched The Polar
gosh.
Express. They had to write up a proposal. Our school is like on a plan right now. We are like, it's
That is
insane.
crazy. Like, what are the kids going to retain on Friday? In 5th grade, I always taught until Thursday, like always, because there was no reason not to, and the kids were going to go crazy anyhow. But I always taught until Thursday because we had to get stuff done. And if you're not like on your like trajectory to get things done by state testing, then they're not going to know everything that's on a test. Okay, I get that. But Friday, I never had a party. I never had a party, but I would do like, those mystery pictures where you have to graph the coordinate points, but I would make it holiday themed because at least that was part of the standards, but I wasn't instructing, but I was still like around, like helping them. And that was all we did in 5th grade. But listen, I'm just going to say that.
Can I ask this? Do y'all have half days on Friday?
None, no.
Shut up. Really?
Full day.
We half day, always. Always a half day. So kids will be gone by like 1 o'clock. They'll be gone. And so I was told because I'm an admin, they'll probably let us go
instead of
by 3. And I'm like,
okay.
Instead of 4:45 when I usually get to leave. So mine's more of like a full day, but the rest of the
Even the
campuses get to leave
teachers?
by like 1. And they're done.
Wow. That would help so
Yes.
much with traveling. We have to like get home and like race to the airport. Oh my goodness. But so are you going to get to show the Grinch on Friday, Allyson?
We haven't gotten a response yet.
I'm showing
I
the
don't
Grinch
know.
on Tuesday. It's Grinch Day. And Thursday is Reindeer Day. So I'm showing Olive the other reindeer. Olive, Olive, Olive the other reindeer.
I know. I love that book. Yeah.
We're just doing it.
It would be nice to know so we can start planning because
My gosh.
Y'all just blew my mind. No half day and you don't know holiday stuff. Like, what?
we can have holiday stuff. It just has to be tied to the standards.
Academic.
And if we're showing a movie, we have to have it approved. We have to write
To your
up
principal
a proposal.
or the district?
Well, we wrote it to our principal because that's who said we had to do it.
Somebody at admin, like district level, had to have said something for her to be so He or she, I
It's
don't know if you
because
have
we're
a
on
male
a
or female.
plan.
Yeah.
Because we're on a plan. It's really what it is.
Is it because y'all's, I hate to say, like y'all's letter grade from like the
Yeah.
testing from the previous year? Okay. That's what I
Yep.
figured.
That is crazy. That is.
Yeah.
But even our campuses, like my district has campuses that were like on plans and everything. And even that last day, they were like, go ahead. Like they let, holiday-ish type
But here's the thing.
non-academic things happen. It's crazy.
That's what she'll say. She'll be like, you can have fun. We're not telling you can't have fun. There are lots of ways that you can have fun and do those fun, creative things tied in with your
Even
curriculum and
kindergarten?
standards. You guys know how to be creative. You're
Even
professionals.
kindergarten? What? Oh my gosh, you're just taking the fun away.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had some pretty big conversations about that.
Like during staff meetings or otherwise?
So, both. Both. A lot of chatter has been happening in our building amongst staff. And then I am part of a committee it's a teacher per grade level. And then we meet with admin once a month and we discuss like different topics or different things because they want our feedback before making big decisions. And one of the things that got brought up in this last meeting that we just had was a kindergarten teacher expressed how kindergarten is feeling burnout, hating the teaching profession right now because they're being told, like all grade levels, we're being told we had to do that walk to read. So our 30-minute intervention, we switched kids, which is what we were doing prior to switching for reading and math. But kindergarten is like, it's not appropriate for our kindergarten kids. By the time like we get in from recess, they take all their stuff off, they're in our rooms and like we're shoving academics down their throats basically so much. Like the kindergarten teacher was like in tears, like expressing the amount of stress like that it's putting on them at a kindergarten level. We're just not doing what's developmentally appropriate because we're so concerned about the academics, which it is. You do have to be concerned about that. But also, if you're putting too much onto those kids, they're burning out and they're not doing their best. And then it does affect. So it's a double-edged sword. I don't know. So I think some of it is out of her control too, because she's on a tight, right? Like it just sucks because I feel like honestly, our students are the ones suffering the most because it's starting with the higher ups and going down and down. And it's just like you're pushing that down. And like, so it's all we feel like it's all put on us, but then ultimately then that's reflecting on our kids. Cause like she even said, like, I'm trying to put on this happy face, but I can't be fake. Like, she's like, I am so miserable. And then we're trying to sit here and, if we love the book, our kids love the book. If we love this, our kids love this. But what happens when we're not? We can't just sit here and fake it if we're that miserable. So I don't know. That's where we're at right now in our building.
So if you didn't have all this, what would you like? What do you typically do with your kids? Like in this like last few days before break? Like what have you done in the past? I'm just curious.
We've always had a Grinch day. Like we've swapped rooms. We've had like a coloring room, a bingo room, like game rooms, and done like things like that. We have always tried to do like escape rooms where they are academically tied in, but we've always watched a movie, but we've never had to justify it. Right. And we used to do like we read Bridge to Terabithia and we would watch the movie. We've read like any type of books we would read, we'd watch it. But now we have to like write up a proposal and have it approved before we show any kind of movies. So it's just,
My gosh.
yeah, that's a holiday
I like wonder
mood killer.
what the teachers went through when we were in school. Did they have to jump through these hoops? Because
Right?
I remember in 6th grade, we read West Side Story. And then as a grade level, we went into the library and we watched the movie. Like, I just wonder, did they have to jump through all of these hoops? Right.
What were their struggles? Because they had
Right.
them. It wasn't
They didn't
perfect.
have all the technology that we have, and they didn't have like other stuff, but like what was the admin expecting of all of them? I mean, honestly, I probably could ask. I'm still friends with my 7th grade social studies teacher. I ended up like working in the district, so I was one of his colleagues. Like, so I could ask him, but it's just like school in the 90s. Like, what?
Don't worry, we're gonna be on winter break now.
Remember in 7th grade, I watched Gone with the Wind. Like it would be unheard of to show that today in any like junior high school class, like Gone with the Wind. Heck no. But I remember watching it when I was in 7th grade. I don't know. I don't know if they had to go through so many hoops of like getting movies approved or, even books.
No, it's crazy. Part of it's like is I don't want to say a parent problem either, but I just feel like so much has changed over the years where parents have spoke up more and there's just so much more diversity and opinions and beliefs that just get thrown into the pot and stir things up that I don't know, it just everything gets so I don't know the word I'm looking for, but not political, but catering to too many people's beliefs and needs. And I don't know.
So I think it's interesting because today we're talking about those holiday traditions that kindergarten has done in my school. This winter show, we've done Grinch Day, we've done Reindeer Day, we've done holidays around the world, like all of these activities in December that is part of like that kindergarten rite of passage. And like, what would happen if all of that stopped? Like, the tradition of so many years, all of it stopped. And I'm just like, it kind of like, I don't know. There's so many things that we've done. Like in my elementary school, for, I'm not joking, 50 years had like a square dancing, line dancing, like holiday or like cultural like dances for 50 years. I don't know if they do it anymore since I stopped working there, but like 50 years. But there's traditions that have been happening for a long time and the new traditions that come around. Like, what are some of those things that are happening in your lives or whatever? And what would you do if those stopped?
It's funny that you mentioned square dancing because I remember doing square dancing as a kid. Like,
It's funny.
I know. I don't know. There's just, are we talking more like traditions
So
at
I think
school or
I
just
think
in our
both.
lives?
There's some traditions that my husband's had and like his family's had for I don't know, 40, 50 years. And we're continuing to do them with his family. Like when we go up to Illinois next week, we're going to continue to do those with his family. And then there's some stuff that we've started like with our own family. I don't know, like what are some of the things that you guys have experienced that have been traditions for you guys or that you've done like, with your own family or whatever?
So, thinking about that. Yeah, and this will be a funny one. So growing up, we always did. My mom always made gooey, we call them gooey rolls. They're like basically cinnamon rolls, but her recipe, and they're doughy and they've got pecans and they're amazing. And so every Christmas morning, that's what we looked forward to. We would eat our gooey rolls before we did any of the other stuff. And we always would have to wait because my dad would go to church on Christmas morning, no matter what day it fell on. Like he would always go and like, because he usually was like an elder and he helped out with things. So like we would always have to wait until he got back regardless. Or like some Christmases, if there was really bad snow, like he would go out and plow for people and we would have to wait more or less when we got older because when we were little, I think that was harder for us to do that. So I think he didn't do it as much, but we always had gooey rolls. And even like when I moved out and was living on my own, I would go back before having kids, like I would go back to my parents' house or I would even sleep at my sister's and like she would make gooey rolls. So now like as a grown up, so my sister and I both now make gooey rolls for our families. And I even the first year I tried doing it at my husband's house because we used to travel there, but now that we have our own kids, we stay home on Christmas Eve so that our kids can have Christmas with us. And then going to Ohio is only a few hours away, so we can travel within a day. But a couple years ago, after we got our dog, and they have to set out and rise overnight. My husband gets up and he realizes there's like the dog was like whining. So he gets up to let the dog out. Well, the dog got up, ate the entire pan as it was rising. I was so mad. I was like, you ruined Christmas. Like these gooey rolls are a staple of Christmas. Like they are, it's not what makes Christmas, but it's like been a tradition forever. And my family doesn't even really eat them. My husband doesn't eat sweets. The boys don't really eat them, but I still make them because that's our tradition. Maybe like a fourth of it might get eaten and the rest I end up taking it to my mom's house because she doesn't necessarily make it anymore because my dad can't have it. So she doesn't make it because it's only them two living there. So usually my dad he'll eat it even though he's not supposed to eat it. So we'll either bring our leftovers. My sister's family, they'll devour theirs. She's got 3 kids. They all love it. So I usually bring my leftovers to my mom's house that morning or later that day. My dad can have some. But I was so mad. I was like, you. So every year since, it's only been a couple, I put the dog in the kennel on Christmas night because I'm like, Christmas Eve. So I'm like, you are not ruining Christmas again. And it's not like I couldn't even go out and get the ingredients to redo it because it has to rise overnight. I was so mad. So I was like, I called my sister that next morning. I'm like, do you still have some at your house? Can you bring some over? Because it's not Christmas without having a little bit of gooey roll. It's like just a sliver, but that was the
Oh my
year Christmas was
gosh.
ruined because it was just such a tradition. Yeah. And so
Oh,
like
that sounds so good. It kind of sounds like our monkey
I
bread.
love monkey
it
bread.
is. It really is. My mom and sister, it was funny that I don't know if it was that year or the year before that happened. They were both on the same wavelengths for Christmas because I can't remember if it was my mom or my sister. One of them did a cutting board, like a wooden cutting board, and the recipes engraved on it. And then the other one made it a framed and it has like holly and cranberries. Like it's such a really pretty print that's framed so that every Christmas we set the recipe out because it's been like a staple in our family. So like we have the cutting board and the printed. They both did it the same year, the recipe of it. So something really simple and silly, but that's like been a staple in our
Yeah.
family since I was a kid. And I plan on continuing that.
Even though no one eats them in your house.
I can't imagine without it because dang it, that dog, it was like Christmas was ruined that day.
Goodness.
So I make a
Mm.
French toast casserole and it has to like sit overnight. And I started it probably when I like started baking and cooking a lot. I think I like junior high. Because before my mom would do like monkey bread. And then I said, oh, I found this really cool like French toast, overnight French toast casserole recipe. And she's like, sure. And so I started making it. And then it became like a, hey, every Christmas, go ahead and make it. And so I started, playing around with the type of milk. I would do eggnog. I would do like a little bit of coffee creamer, changing it up. And so I started making it, into like, continued to make it into adulthood. And so thing y'all don't know about my husband's family is they're Jehovah's Witnesses and they don't
None. Not even
celebrate any holidays.
birthdays.
I know, blowing y'all's mind. No, nothing. So there will be times our oven's real old, so we'll go use my mother-in-law's oven because she's right down the street. And a few years back, I started taking over the casserole and making it there. She's like, "What are you making? What are you making?" And so I started, letting her have some, and I made her one. I was like, "Yeah, I'll make you one too. Like it's no big deal." This is her favorite thing. And she knows I only make it around Christmas time. The lady doesn't celebrate Christmas, but she will take some French toast casserole. Like she asked me about it last night. We were over at their house and she goes, so are you going to make that French toast thing soon? I said, well, yeah, I'll make it next week because that's what we do brunch at my dad's house. And so I'll bring it over. And I said, yeah, I'll make one next week. She's like, okay, you're going to make us one, right? And I said,
My
yes, I will make you
gosh.
one. So they don't celebrate it, but there's like pieces of it that she's taken some of my traditions, like food wise. And I joke, I'm like, okay, you don't celebrate it. You'll partake in some of the food, which is funny. And then, you talk about traditional foods that you have at holidays. My husband brought in hash brown casserole into our Thanksgiving. And now we can't not show up with it. Like my dad and my sisters are like, no, he has to bring it. So it's even though like his family hasn't celebrated any holidays, like we've taken our food and kind of, crossed him over and combined our traditions, but like in a non-traditional way.
What's in your hash brown casserole?
So think of like the Cracker Barrel hash brown casserole, but a little bit better.
We do cheesy potatoes, which is basically like that.
Probably
It's
like
so good.
super
and
similar.
it has to be made at like Thanksgiving or Christmas for sure. Has to be.
Or Christmas, both. Because
yeah, that's when
I guarantee you we'll make one next week too and bring it to brunch on
oh
Christmas.
my gosh, it's so good. I can't wait. What were you going to say, Allyson?
So does Omar does he celebrate now everything?
So
or like how did that
to an
work?
extent. His first Christmas was 10 years ago when we got together. So it was his first Christmas like ever. And he jokes, he's like, I don't really celebrate. I was like, you do. Because I was like, you go, we get the gifts, you have brunch with my family, we open gifts, there's things we've kind of started to do, but it's almost like taking my traditions, adapting them a little bit to him, but then also continuing what I've done too. Because there's one tradition me and my little sister did every year was watch It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas Eve. And even though she lives in Italy now and she's not always home for Christmas, like she won't be home this year, she still like will text or call me like, "Hey, I'm watching it." And he knows like that's something that I watch, and we get hot cocoa or wassail or whatever we want, and we watch it. And so there's some things that he like knows, hey, she wants to do, let's go ahead and do it. So
So, and what do his parents think about that?
it depends. I can tell they're not like the biggest fan of it, but I'm like, it's not like we're doing anything, he doesn't go to Christmas Eve services with me, which is fine. Like, I take my wins when I get them, right? Like, he'll go to Christmas morning with me, we'll do the gifts, but if Christmas Eve service doesn't happen, that's okay. Like, I will take my wins. Actually, I think he may have gone a couple years ago. It was like, I think it was one that I like specifically requested him to go to, and he was like, okay.
Does he
So,
celebrate his birthday?
but no, there's things
So I was going to
he
ask.
says he doesn't. We do. We do. We do. Um, I think that's the thing he kind of likes now. He kind of likes celebrating his birthday. He's like, I'm like, yeah, just celebrate you. You're another year older. We can, do gifts or dinner or whatever you want to do. So,
Wow.
but yeah, we joke his first holiday season wasn't
Wow.
until 10 years ago. Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah.
I thought my first Christmas as an adult was like an anomaly, but I forgot about the Jehovah's Witnesses. My gosh. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too, Becky. So we talk about these like mixed religions and beliefs because, like, Katie, you and your husband are both grew up very different, and Becky, you and yours. So how did your transition kind of
So
happen, Becky?
the long and the short of it is when my husband and I first started dating, I I knew by looking at him that he was not Jewish. And I was like, blonde hair, blue eyes, okay, like whatever, let's just see where this goes. So 6 months into us dating, I was like, okay, if we ever get married, if we ever have kids, like what do you see happening? And he's like, well, I grew up in the church, really liked it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But like on these conditions, one, like if we're going to get married, we probably should start going to church. I was like, if we're going to raise the kids this way, that's fine. Two, like my kids have to know how I grew up. So Carson, my 9-year-old, he is very aware. I have talked to him about it. Like, we go to church every week and everything and all that, and we celebrate everything. But I was like, but like these are all the holidays and traditions that I had growing up. So we've talked about that. Tyler's 4 years old, so we haven't quite gotten there yet. Maybe when he's 5 or 6, like, and he kind of understands. And then there was a third condition that I couldn't remember. I can't remember right now. But anyhow, so it was very interesting. The first Christmas that I had with them, we went to like essentially where I'm going to go next week. It's like middle of nowhere, Illinois. We went to his aunt's house and it was the most white Christmas I have ever seen. Because like growing up in like a city-ish environment, there's white Christmases, but it's nothing, Allyson, you can relate to this. Nothing like a country white Christmas where like the cows are across the way and not like you only see white everywhere. So
That's every
exactly.
day for me.
Exactly. And that was my first Christmas. Like that was the first time that I had been to his aunt's house. That was like, we went to Christmas Eve service. I had never been to church. That was very magical. But in all of this, my mom hated it. Let's like, this is like the one thing that I remember about my first Christmas, like aside from the magical part of it, she called me 60 times that weekend. Like every 4 minutes it would be like, oh, my mom's calling, my mom's calling, my mom's calling. Like, because she didn't like the fact that I was celebrating it. So that should be noted. Like she was not a fan of it. But it was something very different than what our traditions had been on Christmas growing up, because we celebrated Hanukkah, which sometimes can fall on Christmas and sometimes not, because the Jewish calendar is the lunar calendar. But our Christmas tradition growing up was going to the zoo. There's like the city zoo in Chicago was open every single day and it's free. So you go in, like you go in park and you go in, and then it would be empty. But then we would go eat Chinese food because the Chinese people, some of them are Buddhist, so they don't celebrate Christmas. So we would go to the zoo and go eat Chinese food. That was like our tradition. And at the zoo they had like all the zoo lights, which I think Allyson, you had talked about, like all the lights around the zoo where you are. But, like, going into my husband's family and celebrating Christmas was just, like, always so magical. I would always just, like, stop and look around and be like, "Oh my gosh, everyone's" like, on Christmas Day, we don't, like, get dressed up in nice clothes, we just stay in our pajamas, and, like, everyone's just hanging out, and, like, we're opening presents, and we have brunch, and, like, we are just around snacking or napping or just, like, watching, A Christmas Story, which is on for a straight 24 hours. So we always would like have that on, or different Christmas movies, or, like putting the toys together for the kids and just like playing. And everyone would be having like getting their part of Christmas dinner ready in the kitchen. So people would be like, okay, Becky, it's your turn. You're coming in the kitchen now. And like, Clinton's leaving, or like, Amy's coming in now and Reagan's coming in now. And just like, it's still so magical of like his family being together. Every family has like their dysfunctional parts of it, but like I always felt like that warm and cozy feeling. I think I've been celebrating Christmas for 14 or 15 years. And it just like for me it's just always been so magical. It's a little different and now that we have it in Florida also, but like it's still so fun. But we are going to get to have that hopefully white Christmas. Now I think a lot of the snow is melting now, but um we're going to go up for like pre-Christmas.
I think it's coming
There was
back.
my mother-in-law said they went to Illinois on Friday night and then texted us yesterday and said another 3 to 5 inches are coming down. But like where my mom lives in Chicago, it's like it's going to be 40 degrees for a few days, and so the snow is going to melt. But for Carson's sake, my 9-year-old's sake, I hope that there is snow because he desperately wants to play with it. But my 4-year-old, who has grown up in Florida, we moved here when he was 9 months old. He was like, no, what? I don't snow? No, you are my child. I don't like snow either. We'll just stay inside and snuggle. But I hope that he gets the opportunity to go and play. And he's like, is the snow good enough for a snowman? Because I want to build one of those. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it is. We'll have to see when we get up there. But yeah, we have a lot of traditions in my husband's family and then stuff that we do like as our family that I've wanted to start just so that my kids have our traditions and then like other family traditions. So yeah, it's been very different in the last 15 years, but Christmas was always quiet for us and now it's not. And it's fun. I love it.
But this
We kind of had to like tweak our Christmas traditions a little bit
Mm-hmm.
when my dad got remarried. Because we lost my mom and then he got remarried. And, we tried to keep those traditions of like what my mom had. But then, of course, my stepmom came in. And so you're like trying to honor and she's trying to honor too, but she also has hers. So for a while there, it was like, it was tough. Like it was hard to find that magic and that. So I feel like almost you could go through like phases of like the holidays and like it being good and it being like, it's not so great. So like this year, I don't know how it's gonna go. Because my sister's still in Italy. And then my dad and stepmom are here. And then my other sister's here with her kids. But then we have a stepsister who she's got very opinionated on a lot of things. And social media, she's gotten very, very opinion on things. And I'm like, okay, Christmas may be interesting. Like we're gonna see how the holiday season goes this year. So I feel like we may be in like one of those like adjusting years that we were in like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. So I don't know. But you talked about, the magic. I'll never forget there was a Christmas. I had to have been in junior high. I think I was like 7th, 8th grade maybe. And sorry, y'all, the dogs are leaving. I was Mary in the nativity scene at Christmas Eve. And so we had so many services. And I remember being at the church and we were, in between services and we knew it was cold. And I remember stepping out back. There was like this back porch amphitheater on the back of the stage that you could like step out onto. And I stepped out there and it just started snowing. And it never snows in Texas. And I don't think we've seen snow like, I think I was 13 and I hadn't seen snow ever in Texas. I think the last time like it had happened, I was 4 and I don't remember that. And so it started snowing on Christmas Eve. And then sure enough, it just kept coming down and coming down. And for us, we got like 2 inches. I know that's nothing, but like for Texas, it's huge. But that probably is like ingrained as one of the most like magical Christmas Eve Christmases because like the next morning the snow was still on the ground and it was really cool. But I just remember playing Mary that year at church and sure enough it started snowing in between Christmas Eve services.
That's awesome. I love that because it never happens.
Well, that's how my cousin growing up was from Texas. And so when she would come up here, it was always such a big deal because, she wasn't used to that. So like they would come up for Christmas. I don't really think they came up for much more than just that Christmas holiday. And usually they came up every year. But then my aunt passed when I was in college. And then my uncle got remarried, but he actually has a house up here and they just moved up here. But our family has also had a little bit of a falling out since my grandma passed a few years ago. So, it's funny how that can happen. Not funny, but life. That's a whole nother episode that we could go into that
Yes.
kind of stuff. But for real, I'm just so fortunate that like this Christmas marks a year that my grandma moved in with my mom. It was last year on her birthday, actually next Sunday. And then she started living with my mom up until she had passed this past spring. But so I know this Christmas is going to be a hard one on my mom. Like Thanksgiving was our first holiday without her. But like Christmas last year, like she was living with my mom and at the house. So, but you talking about Christmas Eve, like Christmas Eve was always my favorite part of Christmas. Not even Christmas Day. It was always Christmas Eve. We always went to church on Christmas Eve service. We did the whole candlelight, like singing Silent Night was my favorite part. Funny story when my dad was little, because we went to the church that my dad grew up going to. And when he was little, their candlelight service, he fell asleep or he did something and he caught his hair on fire. So he always tells that story every Christmas Eve. But I have a picture from a couple years ago of my dad holding the boys with the candle, like because I'm middle of service, but I snuck a picture because it was like the cutest thing. Growing up, I remember like driving home Christmas Eve because our church that we went to was a country church, but it was a good 20 minutes from our house, and we would always drive back to my grandma's house because we would do dinner, go to church, come back, and then do presents. And my sister and I, every year, like we would like look out and we would talk about, can we see Santa? We would look for Santa. And to this day, Christmas Eve, whether I'm going anywhere or not, because we don't always go to church on Christmas Eve now, like that's a whole nother story with our church. But I still like look for the magic of Santa. Like I was driving to my mom's yesterday and there was 4 deer that came on across the road and Hayes in the back was like, Mom, I think those are Santa's reindeer. And it just made me think of like that memory and like, yeah. So we don't necessarily go to church there anymore. My dad grew up in that church. So this is kind of like segueing, but he grew up going to that church and this past year like stopped, which speaks volumes because my dad was very like growing up, like you didn't skip church. You did not like it was a no. Like unless you're like on your deathbed, like you didn't not go to church. So we grew up like very church, which as adults, we are not so strict with it anymore. And I think that's because it was pushed on us so much as kids. But recently my dad, which is just huge, he asked to, I don't know what you say, cancel your membership because he's a member, like he's been a member of the church since he was a kid, which I was like, seriously? Like that's huge. Like that was his childhood church that his mom went to. His mom was very devoted to that church. But it's because this new pastor that came in, 5 years ago, because he was gung ho about my husband was not baptized. And that was always a big thing that it bothered my grandma. So when Hayes was baptized, my husband got baptized with him together. But this pastor that was new was all like, almost like showboaty about it. Like, look what I did. Ha ha ha. Well, this pastor has caused some problems. But he's basically been lying to the members of the church. And since my dad stopped his membership, they're going to another church. He's been telling people that, oh, I've reached out to them. I've called them. because another member had recently ran into my dad, was like, well, yeah, he said he's been calling you. My dad's like, he has not called at all. Like, how can you be a pastor at a church and sit there and lie to so it's not been pretty. It's like, I loved that church growing up. I loved my pastor. Like, I was so adamant because my pastor had retired. And so I actually didn't get married in our church. I got married outside, like, because the only way I could get my pastor growing up to marry me is I couldn't get married in the church because he wasn't the pastor there anymore. So it's like, it's just sad because, like, you have all those traditions. Like, we had all these traditions in the church, especially with the holidays. And then when things change and things unravel, it's just how quickly some of those can go away. And like you had talked when we first started talking about these traditions, like what things would be like if those weren't around. So it is hard, but then, you start new traditions. Like, we try to start new things with our
You know,
kids
it's
now.
interesting that you talk about, like, I know people go to church on Christmas and Easter and all that stuff. And for a lot of years, that would be like the only time that we wouldn't be going to church because and we are weekly church goers. And
Everybody
like,
goes.
it gets to be too busy.
Every
And so we don't go. I mean, we've gone a whole bunch of years, but like, oh, we don't have time to go to church. The kids are going to be too cranky to go to church. And
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, we have gone the past few years, but like, if we're out of town and it's just too hard to go, then we haven't gone. But we're like the opposite. We go to church every week. Like,
I feel you on that because I don't like big crowds and there's tons of people. And so where my family chooses to do Christmas Eve service, it's kind of considered a
well, you
mega
live in
church.
Texas.
And so there's tons. I think righteous gemstones. We can talk about that later. But there's been years where it's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to. And Omar like has to pep talk me of like, okay, well, you gotta go. You know you do. And really I'm like, okay, I go for my grandmother or my dad, or like this year, my niece has a little song she's singing on stage, which is a huge deal. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for that. But I have to like pep talk myself before I go of like, don't be cranky, don't be rude, don't be because there's so many people and I'm like you, I'm like,
Mhm.
everybody comes out of the woodworks and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
For us, if we
Oof.
don't get there early enough, there's like not enough room for the kids to go in their room. So they need to come with us. Yeah. Which isn't a
Yeah.
huge, yeah.
Like, we had our pew. Like, our church was that small town church where everybody had their pew. Like, you didn't sit in somebody else's pew. Like, that was just a big no-no. But on Christmas Eve, like you said, if you didn't get there early enough, like, our family could not sit together because all these other people were there. Like, there was and since having kids, like, the first few years we did still go with our family to our family church, but, like, there'd be times where we had to sit in the back, like, we couldn't even sit together because by the time we could get there with our own children, we couldn't get there early enough to sit together, and so it kinda lost some of that
Mhm.
nostalgia.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I think it's just so interesting. Like, I know we're not the only ones, but like just watching traditions like evolve and change. And sometimes they evolve and change like out of our control, like not by our choice and not by our
Yeah.
choosing. That, they do evolve and they do change. I think it's like good to say, like, we've been able to adapt and change to those. And okay, well, we'll train, we'll adapt this tradition for this or that. Yeah, it's hard and
Mhm.
it stretches us as like human beings, but I know we're not the only ones. Like I know there's tons of people out there that are having to like adapt and change to traditions and it's good and it's bad and it's tough and it's easy.
Yeah. I always try to, like, at least stick to a tradition that I had. 'Cause I'm big on traditions, I love traditions, but I also like creating new ones for my kids, like, okay, so what tradition can we stick to? So, like, now that we have our elf, you leave cookies out for Santa, but we also have started the tradition of which is not something I had growing up because we didn't do the elf growing up, but my mom always made Buckeye, the candies, Buckeyes. That was always a staple Christmas candy, so now as a tradition for us that I hope my kids still do when they're older, we always leave Buckeyes. So we don't just leave cookies out for Santa, we leave Buckeyes out for the elf because his name is Buckeye. So that's something I
Aw.
hope like that's a tradition like we've started that they'll remember and
Mhm.
can do.
I think the one that maybe I need to start picking up from my Mima, because she's getting older, And my other grandmother, she is so far gone, she can't really cook or do anything. So we still kind of make some of her stuff. But I think the one that my Mima does is every Christmas is she makes what we call Texas trash. And so it's like a Chex Mix, like kind of thing. But then you put like seasonings on it. And so, yeah, we call it Texas trash.
So we call it up in Indiana white crack. So, I mean, trash crack. Like,
we also have like, it's a big thing for my husband's aunt to make Chex Mix every year. Homemade Chex Mix.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
Like, we candy coat Chex
Puppy
Mix.
chow,
Like, it's like almost like puppy chow, but not because it's got more of like a. It
So
has
hers
a
is
different
just
flavor
salty.
than that, but yes.
Hers is not sweet. Hers is salty. So
the
she
stuff
takes
that my
like
mom makes is like melted white chocolate, and it's got
no, and
it's
there's
like
another
that addicting.
one.
That's why it's Christmas crack, because it's addicting.
So there's two meanings to Texas trash. There's that one that you're talking about, Allyson, and then there's the one that my Mima makes. So you can have like sweet Texas trash or salty Texas trash. But just thinking like, I'll probably get a bag of that next week when I go pick her up for Christmas Eve services. And she'll be like, I made some. Because that's the one thing, like she will make sure she can make that because that is like her thing she's done. I mean, she's done it my entire life. So that's the one thing that she will continue to make until her hands will not allow her to.
I love that. I love those things that are those traditions that you get to carry on. And yeah.
Thanks for sipping and sharing a moment with us today. We can't wait to keep showing up with you each week. Messy, caffeinated, and real.
And if you liked what you heard, we'd be so grateful if you'd follow, subscribe, or share this with your teacher, bestie, mom group chat, or training partner, or all three. It helps more people find our little corner of chaos and connection.
And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Espresso Yourself Podcast. Tell us what resonated, share your own stories, what topics you want us to cover, or just come say hi.
Make sure to hit follow so you don't miss next week's episode.
Until next time,
Keep showing up.
Keep giving yourself grace.
And espresso yourself.
one sip at a time.
Cheers.